Hi everyone, welcome back. It's the Louis Vuitton Princess, and today we are going to be taking a look at one of Louis Vuitton's, I'd say, pretty underrated collections. So today we are going to be talking about the Louis Vuitton Suhali line. If you're not super familiar with the Louis Vuitton Suhali line, it is from, I'd say it's definitely vintage at this point, probably early 2000s, and it was a Louis Vuitton collection that featured goat leather. So Louis Vuitton, as most people know, they're very canvas oriented. They don't produce a lot of leather bags, and we sort of have this thing where we had Suhali leather that came out in the in the early 2000s. I think there was Taiga leather. There were a couple like leather variations that Louis Vuitton put out there. We also have the Vernis patent leather. So we saw a lot of different kind of leather experimentation in the early 2000s, and then we sort of hit that mid 2000s era where it was just canvas. Again, not seeing a lot of leather prevalence. And then there was kind of a shift again where we were seeing a bit more leather. You know, they had pebble leather lockets, they had the empreinte leather, and now, I don't know, Louis Vuitton makes a lot of mixed pieces now where there's leather and canvas. It's all very complicated. There's always been the conspiracy where a lot of people say Louis Vuitton is going to completely get rid of canvas and move only into leathers. I don't believe that, and I've never believed that. I still don't believe that, because every single time Louis Vuitton has tried to pull a move like that, it honestly has mostly flopped. They're known for canvas. That's what people want. They want classic Louis Vuitton monogram. People are not going to just go from classic Louis Vuitton monogram to wanting nothing but leather, and a lot of their leather has defect issues in the first place. So yeah, nonetheless, that's a discussion for another day. Today we are talking about one of the times where I feel like Louis Vuitton did successfully execute leather, and that is with the Suhali collection. So I am going to butcher this name, and I apologize for that. But this is the Louis Vuitton Suhali. It's called like the Suhali L'Impetueux or something. I will put the correct name in the title of the video in case you want to know. And this is in the color geranium, which made me so happy because I love geraniums. So this is just a cute little shoulder bag, you know, very much giving sort of like early 2000s baguette. Very cute little shoulder bag. I mean, it's absolutely gorgeous. I love it. This was one of those bags that I 100% bought spur of the moment, knowing nothing about it. I was familiar with the Suhali line. Typically with Suhali leather, you have this geranium color. There's also a black variation, a sort of white cream variation, and it's sort of like a mauve blue that you also see in Suhali leather. I know Little Kim had quite a few of the mauve blue Suhali pieces. So I believe that's all the color variations for Suhali, and they didn't make a ton of Suhali bags. There are some very large bags, some SLGs, and some smaller bags. Some of the things that remain true with all of the Suhali pieces, however, is it was another era where Louis Vuitton really started experimenting with lots of studs. You see lots of studs on these pieces, you know, lots of additional hardware. The font is also a little bit different. I'm going to show you guys the feet on this one. They also did a little bit of experimenting with various fonts that were not super common before. So these were very much sort of experimental, you know, new territory for Louis Vuitton. And you can definitely see from this bag alone, this was very much new territory for Louis Vuitton. I do actually. I just wanted to reach over and, you know, kind of show we have this transition from, this is a bag from the late 90s. This is the Louis Vuitton Bel Air PM. And so you can see how this was a very big change going from these, you know, very classic canvas, very traditional bag styles, not a whole lot of bling bling, you know, very standard. And so we go from this jump of bags like this in the late 90s to we hit the early 2000s and they're putting out things like this. That's a very big jump, very big transition. Now, the reason why I say this collection is underrated is because you do not see people carrying the Suhali bags pretty much ever. Like, I never really see people carrying Suhali bags. I never see people posting Suhali bags. You never see bloggers posting Suhali bags. It very much is sort of a collection that has flopped in the modern era. Now, I don't know how popular Suhali was or wasn't when it first dropped. Like I said, I know Kim K had some Suhali bags. Little Kim had some Suhali bags. The celebs definitely did rock the Suhali bags, but they were not nearly as seen as a lot of Louis Vuitton's other releases in the 2000s. You know, we had multicolor drop, lots of Murakami stuff dropping. It kind of faded away in the background with a lot of the other pieces that dropped in the mid 2000s or the early 2000s. And, you know, the biggest reason why I think that was the case is because while the Suhali was very experimental from the 90s, and I think the older crowd, you know, the traditional Louis Vuitton people, they let it flop in the, you know, early 2000s because this was so different from what they were used to with Louis Vuitton. But then you had the younger and, you know, the more pop culture, the rise of pop culture people. And they also kind of let this collection flop in the early 2000s because, you know, everybody was after multicolor Murakami. It was kind of the same thing of like, the Murakami was experimental, it was new, it was different, but at the same time, it still offered some of those traditional Louis Vuitton bag style shapes. It still had the traditional monogram. And so I just feel like that's why Suhali didn't really do well. A lot of people, I think, stay away from Suhali because they don't really like the fact that it doesn't look like a Louis Vuitton bag. And I will tell you with myself, honestly, as well, that was one of the biggest reasons why I never had any Suhali pieces for a long time, because I always, like a lot of people, just sort of had the attitude of like, well, if I'm gonna spend the money on a Louis Vuitton bag, I want it to look like a Louis Vuitton bag. And I feel like that was another reason Suhali kind of flopped. And I definitely think in the age now where monogram is like everything, everybody wants everything monogrammed, I definitely feel that's why a lot of people do not gravitate towards bags like these. Just because, you know, they want that recognition of it being a designer handbag. Now, this bag still screams designer to me, but I definitely feel like to some people it doesn't, just because it doesn't have the monogram. Nonetheless, the Suhali L'Impetueux, y'all know what I'm trying to say, it is one of my favorite bags. I have carried this bag quite a few times over the summer. I use it pretty often, and now I'm going to show you guys why. So the first thing that I really like about this bag is it has a kind of baguette shoulder strap, but it is adjustable. There's like little studs in there where you can adjust the shoulder strap length. And, you know, overall the strap is in like really good condition. It does have some padding on the underside, which I think is really nice. So it is comfy on your shoulder. You don't really see that a lot with Louis Vuitton. You don't see shoulder padding, so that's kind of a niche thing. Another thing I love about this bag is, as I said, the color. I absolutely love that Louis Vuitton did geranium, and if you have geraniums or you like geraniums, then you definitely recognize this color as being geranium. I really like the color because I feel like it's not cliche. Like if they had gone with more traditional, like, you know, cherry red, I feel like it would have been cliche. So that's something I really like, is they chose a, you know, pigment that it's still very flashy and very eye-catching, but it's still, you know, kind of unique. It's not a color that you see very much. Like I honestly cannot even really think of too many places where I've seen this color. The next thing I love is the gold hardware, because as you guys know, I'm a gold hardware girly. I do not like silver hardware, and I absolutely love when bags have a lot of hardware. I just feel like it really adds. I feel like, you know, it really gives luxury. I also love the studs, because as a Murakami girl, I love studs. I just feel like this bag is very well executed. It's nicely done, very symmetrical, a nice balance of hardware and leather. Next thing I love about the Suhali bags is the leather is very soft. I'll kind of like zoom in so you can like see the leather grain, but the leather is very soft. Like it's like, I don't even know, when you freshly like shave your legs or something. Soft, incredibly soft, incredibly smooth, and I really like that. And you can tell that the leather is a very high grade. So next, I love these little zippers on the front, and they do actually unzip. So a lot of people wonder, are the zips just for show? They do actually unzip and zip, and this is actually a little pocket. I mean, you can see my fingers like wiggling around in there. This is actually a little pocket. And you can unzip it all the way around. So yeah, this is actually a little pocket that goes all the way around. Now, I don't really know what you would fit in there, but you know, maybe you have a car key, or you know, a key fob, something, I don't know, a candy, gum, whatever. You could definitely fit something in the pocket. Next up, it has this really interesting lock for the opening. So you push this little triangle and pull it up, and that is how you open this particular bag. So then it does not have a zipper, and you guys know I typically like bags with zippers, but I actually really like this feature where the opening doesn't have a zipper, but it folds over. So this is the bag open completely. As you can see, it has no zipper, but it completely folds over at the top, so you still kind of get that seal even without a zipper. Again, Louis Vuitton was very much being a little experimental. This interior is not a typical interior that you would see with a Louis Vuitton bag. To be honest, it's kind of giving like a tie, like a tie your dad would wear to work for Christmas or something. It's a weird texture. It honestly feels exactly like a tie, and I wouldn't be surprised if it was the same material. But it's like this weird red tie, sort of monogrammed interior. It's weird. I don't really hold it against the bag because, you know, it's still cute. It's still giving. I like that they went with something different, something a little flashy, but it's definitely a little bit different from what you traditionally see with Louis Vuitton. There's only one pocket in the bag, which is in the back here. It is a larger pocket, but again, you know, this is a baguette style. You should not be getting a baguette style if you're planning on trying to carry a lot of stuff. That's just not how it works. So again, here it is on the shoulder. I love it. Fits nicely. Strap is adjustable. It is very much, I would say, plus friendly, just because they made the baguette strap so long. If you're familiar with baguette styles like the Fendi baguette and other baguette styles, you know, they typically don't make the straps this long or adjustable. So that is definitely a big plus to this bag. Nonetheless, I don't want to ramble too much, but I think I've covered like everything, all the things that I love about this bag. I feel like the Suhali collection is still super underrated. You know, there was that whole big thing where everybody got really snobby and they were like, I want leather, leather, leather. I don't want canvas. Everybody got really snobby about canvas, and everybody went and paid a fortune for Emprunt, which in my opinion flopped, and it has a lot of issues with glazing, color transfer, and everything else. If you are looking for a nice leather Louis Vuitton bag, I highly recommend the Suhali collection. Again, this is only one out of many bags. There are lots of bags in the Suhali collection. So I do definitely recommend it if you want a Louis Vuitton bag that is leather. As always, if you're interested in seeing more of this particular bag or my collection, make sure you stop by my Instagram at the Louis Vuitton Princess. And if you're interested in shopping my closet, I highly recommend checking out Shop LV Princess on Instagram.